What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I hope you like this video. This is P Valley Season 2, Episode 2. Now, I'm going to tell y'all, I don't know how I'm feeling about some things that I saw go down in this episode, but let's get into this. We're going to talk about it, okay? So, the Pynk is having their auditions. Remember, that's where we left off last week with Mercedes being pissed off at, what's-her-face, because, Haley, because she didn't want no auditions, because basically she want to make sure her money right. So they had these auditions, and y'all know how it goes. We got Big Ed outside letting people sign up, and of course he flirting and everything else with everybody who want to come in there. And we have auditions, and of course some of them need to stay at home, some of them need to practice some more, and some of them, baby, they are prime time ready. And there were two in particular. It was a white girl, and it was a young black girl who really was, to me, favored Mercedes. And they did the damn thing. I mean, they was on the pole. They was doing the little tricks like Mississippi Mercedes and old girl last season, where they would be on the pole at the same time and twirling and choreographed and all that. And they was doing it. Like, they was doing it. So, so the new ladies are Whisper and Roulette, right? And Whisper, she's the white girl. And Roulette is the one I said reminds me of Mercedes, but she got an attitude like Mercedes too, honey. But Mercedes and Haley disagree on the last person, who was Haley picked Big Bone. Now Big Bone can't dance. At her audition, she couldn't climb that damn pole. But Haley was like, well, she'll be good at the bar. Like, she can be a bartender. And so of course Mercedes is pissed off because she already ain't want to do the damn auditions, and then she felt like Haley, who don't know what she talk about or don't know what to look for, picking people that really don't deserve to be picked. And Mercedes is pissed off about it. But, Mercedes, she mad about a lot of stuff. But on this one, she was like, she had a legit concern. So while they arguing, who come walking in the door? Corbin and old boy. Keith. Anyway. They come walking in the door, and of course they want to sit down and make an offer for the Pynk. And Uncle Clifford and Haley both tell them, listen, the Pynk is not up for sale. Like, what you trying to offer us? They were offering them, I guess, a decent amount of money. But what Haley said was, listen, at the end of the day, y'all are buying this based on the fact that y'all still think that they're going to build this casino here, and y'all want to have this property in y'all back pocket when they come back around. So I know that, and I'm not stupid. So you're offering me what the Pynk is worth, but you're not offering me the potential of what the Pynk will actually mean to you in the future. So you coming in here offering me $1 million on a piece of property that I know is going to be worth $30 million. So of course Corbin was like, you done lost your damn mind. You think I'm about to give y'all $30 million? She was like, well, you ain't got to give me nothing, because I really didn't say it was for sale. And of course they're like, this is ridiculous. Y'all sit on this property. He was like, don't say nothing when, this place tanks, and then I can get it for $1. And Uncle Clifford was like, whatever, because Uncle Clifford's still mad at him from what had happened last season. He was like, I'd already told you don't come up in here no more anyway, so I don't even know why you sitting up in here in my face. So that did not go so well, okay? Now over to Mississippi's house. Mississippi boyfriend did not get the job that he was trying to get. And the sheriff is over there explaining to them why he can't press charges against Diamond. He said, listen, at the end of the day, pretty much he was like, it was mutual combat. Like, both of y'all were fighting, and if I arrest Diamond, I'm going to have to come over here and arrest you. Because if he want to press charges against you, then he's got a case, he got the same case you got. Like, y'all was fighting each other. So, this might be the best thing for this situation might be for us to just let it go and just cancel each other out. So, Diamond is talking to the sheriff, and he's like, you're not back down at the Pynk, are you? And she was like, nah. He said, you're not doing that internet. She was like, no, I don't do the internet porn. She was like, I do. Basically, she said, I'm an influencer. And she started talking about all these products that she was selling and stuff. And she said, I'm about to go out on tour. I'm about to do my Dirty Dozen tour. And of course, the sheriff was like, okay, got his eye on it or whatever. So down to the Pynk, Mercedes is running the ladies, showing them the moves and all that good stuff. And they're practicing. But her shoulder is still bothering her. And so, of course, now they're making all these jokes about her being old and can't hang or whatever. And that's pissing her off even more, right? Because she's like, I know what I'm doing. Like she doesn't want to admit that she's got a problem. She really doesn't want to admit that her shoulder is hurting, but it really is. Now, Haley and Uncle Clifford are in the Uncle Clifford goes to argue, fuss with her. While they're out there, I'm sorry, the flyers come about the grand reopening of the paint. And come to find out, the grand reopening, Haley done moved it up a week. Well, she ended up moving it up a week, and it is now on Uncle Clifford's birthday, which she didn't know, but of course everybody else knew. And so it's Uncle Clifford's 40th birthday, and he is not here for it, right? He is really upset by that. And Haley was like, "Oh my goodness, I didn't know." She was like, "But we need to get this club open. Like, we gotta start stacking some money. Like the car wash ain't bringing us what we needed to bring us, so we need to get this place open." And he was like, "But the paint is not ready to open. Like, it still needs some work. We still need to get some things in place." And Haley was like, "It's whatever. I'm in charge. I'm the boss. It's opening like I said it is." And he was like, "Okay, fine. You gonna open it. You gonna do it by your damn self because I'm not gonna be here." So he ends up going home and he is upset. He is pissed off. He's talking to his grandmama, and she was like, "You ain't killed that bitch yet." And she said, "You ain't killed that bitch yet." And he was like, "No, he said, but she's getting on my nerves, she gonna open up the paint on Friday." And his mama was like, "That's your birthday." And he was like, "I know." She said, "Well, what you gonna do? Like, that's your 40th." He was like, "Nobody tripping over it being my 40th birthday, but I'm also not, I ain't trying to, I don't want the paint to open either. Like, it's not ready. It's not time." So while he's in his room crying and mad, who come knocking on the door? Murder. And of course, Grandma is happy to see him. Well, she happy to hear him. And she, of course, Uncle Clifford hears it. And he thinks he's sneaking in the room and he hiding behind the door. His dummy didn't realize that he forgot about the mirror sitting right there. And Murder can see Uncle Clifford right behind the door in the reflection. So he basically starts talking to Uncle Clifford. And he's like, "I came by. I done sent some texts and I ain't get no response. So I just came to check and make sure everything was okay. He said, could you, if you could just give my message, to Clifford and let him know I came by." And she was like, "I will." Now she know Clifford is behind the door. She know he's sitting right there. Murder know he's bad too. The only person that don't know that they know is Clifford. Uncle Clifford think that he incognito. And he's listening. He didn't come out, but you could tell, that you could tell he kind of wanted to. But Murder definitely came by to check on Uncle Clifford and make sure he was okay, and all that good stuff. Now, while that's going on, baby, where the money resides, where the blessings resides, Patrice is still doing her church thing. She got commercials on the TV. Where the blessings reside, where the blessings reside, where the blessings reside, where the blessings reside. Okay? So I think they just keep showing us Patrice to let us know that Patrice is still in the mix, right? Patrice is still in the mix of what's going on. Now, while that's going on, the mayor Tydell, nephew was still in town. He done told his wife he can't come home until they read the will, which is a lie. He can't come home because he is trying to make this deal again. He working with Corbin trying to get this casino deal situation settled. But he finds out that his uncle was robbing from the rich and giving to the poor, because we knew his uncle was dirty. We knew he was taking bribes and everything else. But it looks like he was taking care of the neighborhood too. He found all these water hoses coming from his house, going to different houses in the neighborhood, and they were like, "Yeah, when we get behind on our water bill, he pays, he lets us he pays the bill for us, lets us use his water." And so he was like, he saw the receipts for what he was doing as far as that's concerned. So, of course, they didn't end on good terms, but it's helping him see, his godfather in better light. We see him look at a videotape of when he was a kid and his godfather telling him, "You could do whatever you want to do. Sky's the limit. He want to be president, you could be president," right? Now, back over to Mississippi's house, baby. The boyfriend done figured out she was lying. She lied about not having no diapers when she went down to the Dollar General. And because now he knows that that's where Diamond works, because of the sheriff telling him that Diamond worked at the Dollar General, he was like, "So you lied so you could go see him? Is that what's going on here? You wanted to go see him?" And she was like, no. She said, I didn't even know he worked there. But when I saw him, she said he was mean. He was mean to everybody. He even yelled at me. He was like, what? He yelled at you? So he acted like he was getting ready to do something. I thought he was getting ready to go down to the Dollar General. But he ended up calling and making a complaint, talking about something he needed to be fired because he was rude to my wife. He said this and he said that. And of course, Mississippi was scared because I'm sure Mississippi thought either he was getting ready to go fight him or he was going to fight her. Okay? Now, Mississippi is trying to convince him that she need to go on this tour, which, of course, he don't want her to go on the tour. And she's trying to convince him that that's what they need to do. Now, we see Murda done went and got one of his partners out of jail. Child, they done rolled down there in the hearse, honey. Went and got one of his partners out of jail, so that's going to be their security. That's going to be their security for the tour. And the manager goes to visit Mississippi to talk to her about the tour. And what she had done was she called him to come down there and convince her boyfriend to let her go on this tour. But then Mississippi started calling him out about, well, how much am I getting a cut? And are you taking, you taking my hotel out of the cut? You taking my costumes out of the cut? And she basically was letting him know, you're not going to get over on me. Like, I'm not stupid. I know the game, and we're not doing that here. So then, we see him get mad, and he was complaining to Murda about it. He was like, she called me to come over there to convince her boyfriend to let her go on a tour, and then she basically yelling out that she don't have a good deal. And Murda was like, well, does she have a good deal? And he was like, I mean, he didn't want to answer, but basically his response was like, nah. But Mississippi then texted him and was like, thank you, I'll handle the rest. And we basically see her seduce the man into letting her go on the tour. He was like, because he didn't get the job. She knew before he knew because she had seen it on his phone. And so she was like, listen, this is what we need to do to take care of the family. And he was like, well, how much longer? Like, you could just keep, like, you don't need to go out in those clubs and let them guys touch it all on you. You can do it from the bedroom. She was like, it's not the same. It's not the same. He said, well, how much longer are you going to do it? She said, until we can get what we want, until we can buy a house, we have a backyard for the baby. Like, we had that goals. Like, once we get that, I'll stop. By that time, you'll have your job back and you can take care of us, right? And she ends up basically just seducing him, child. She ends up seducing him. Now, while that's going on, it is Uncle Clifford's birthday, and the Pank done reopened, and all kinds of stuff is going wrong down to the Pank, right? Big Ed it's a fire in the kitchen. The girls are on the floor without the protection because, of course, they don't have Diamond. They had a guy arguing with his maybe baby mama. And Haley was like, Uncle Clifford's rule number da-da-da-da-da. And he was like, Uncle Clifford ain't here. So get out of my face because I'm handling my business. Then backstage, they were doing the pendulum to find out if he was the baby father or not. And they doing this, I don't know how I feel about this. This is the part I was saying I don't know how I feel about. They're doing this like, I don't want to say it's sci-fi. It's like spiritual. They were doing the pendulum and seeing which way the pendulum swung. And then when they were in the champagne room, there was this scene with Mercedes, Roulette, and the other new girl, where they had the pendulum, the pole that's not attached to the floor. It swings. And they were like, ask it a question. Go ahead, ask it a question. And they were looking at Mercedes, like they asked it a question, am I going to make a lot of money tonight? And of course she said yes. And then they were like, ask it a question, Mercedes, ask it a question. And Mercedes was just staring at it because, of course, that's where she shot the guy. So, and the other dancer, the one that had the pendulum, not the pendulum, the crystal. I don't want to say it's not a pendulum. It's like she was looking at Mercedes like she knew. You know what I'm saying? Like she knew what was going on. It was weird. I didn't like it. I don't know. And it gets deeper. We're going to get to that in a minute. So, Uncle Clifford is at home while this is going on. Of course, he's looking at the pictures on his Instagram of people posting from the Pank and all of that. He want to be there, but his pride won't let him be there. But he ain't doing nothing for his birthday either. So then his grandmother tell him that she need him to take out the trash. And he was like, I took out the trash. Now, while she's doing this, we see these people in these scream masks. And I was like, oh my gosh, they done come in there to rob grandma who can't see Uncle Clifford in the house. What's going to happen? So he was like, I took the trash out. She said, you didn't take out the recycling. I need you to take it out now. So he goes to take out the recycling, baby, and he gets kidnapped. It's about 4 or 5 of the people with the screen mask on. He ended up getting kidnapped. Well, he ended up they ended up taking him. Basically, they took him to a surprise party, and it was his friends. And shout out to Rails, Where the Money Reside Rails. He was a cameo in there as Uncle Clifford's friends, and they was down to the skating rink. And he had a good time at first. Like, he was having a good time at first, and then until he saw somebody that he thought was Lil Murda. Well, it ended up being the guy that gives out the skates. Well, he ended up going there to get him a pair of skates so he could skate. And baby, they ended up having them a little rendezvous, okay? They got to flirting, and needless to say, Uncle Clifford got a little birthday present, okay? Now, back down to the Pank. Mercedes is so worried about these new girls that, of course, they're taking the attention away. Because, first of all, there's something new. They're climbing the pole. They're doing the little synchronized dancing thing. And so now Mercedes feel like she gotta do just as much, if not more. But her shoulder is not holding up. Like, her shoulder is not. And I saw it was getting ready to happen before it happened. Baby, she ended up falling off that damn pole. So they called Uncle Clifford. Uncle Clifford came and they took her to see Diamond because, of course, the hospitals are still overrun because it's still the Rona. So they took her to Diamond. Well, this is where it got really weird. Now, I have had Reiki treatments before. And people who can really, really do Reiki, they know how to channel their energy into their hands. And they're able to, like, move the energy in your body. Right? It's a real thing, right? And I've had Reiki treatments before. But this was extra. They had Diamond, and he was doing all this with his hand. And she told him that her shoulder ain't been right since the night of the incident. And they told Mercedes, so he was like, well, we'll flip over. So he ended up doing, I'm going to say it was a Reiki thing, right? And he ends up pulling out. And she's jumping up like she's being possessed or something. He ends up pulling out. And he puts it, he's doing like this. And he puts it on the scale and it weighs 7 pounds. And he says 7 pounds, that's the amount of pressure that you need in order to pull the trigger. So it's like symbolic of her pulling that trigger. And, I guess her shoulder's supposed to be better now because he done pulled it out of her. And, of course, Mercedes is like, listen, I'm not right. I ain't been right since that night. And I took a lot for you talking to Haley. And she tells Haley, she said, listen, you got to go. You got to get up out my house. Like, I can't do this with you no more. Like, you left me there that night. And she said, I came back. She was like, you took your sweet ass time coming back. I've given enough. I don't feel respected. You got to get out my house. And she was like, I got to go tonight. Like, can I leave in the morning? She'd be like, nope, you got to go tonight. Like, I don't need you in my house. I don't need you in my space. Like, no. Then found out that Diamond still has old boy's ring. Remember that ring that's like the secret, like the secret society ring? And Haley was like, you can't have no evidence laying around. He said, listen, I did what I needed to do as far as cutting up the body and doing what we had to do. But this is my protection. Like, I got a spell over here. This is my protection. Again, don't know how I feel about that whole spell thing. Now, Uncle Clifford, let me go back. When Uncle Clifford was being kidnapped, he was confessing to everything he ever did. And he confessed to knowing about the person, about them burying that body. So that's another thing too. I don't know if that's going to come back to haunt them or not, but that's another thing. So Uncle Clifford asked Diamond to come back to the club, but Diamond was like, nah, I can't do it. Like, I lost my job today, but I don't know about that. And he was like, well, that's cool. No pressure. I get it. I understand. So later on that night, Haley is at the Pank because she ain't got nowhere else to go. She at the Pank. And I'm thinking to myself, you had all this money. Like, you could have got an apartment. You could have bought a house if you wanted to. But she explains it because old boy ends up coming through Godfather. Because, they closed the Pank early because after Diamond fell on her ass, Mercedes, they had to close the Pank. And so he comes through. He was like, well, where everybody at? And she was like, what you doing here? He was like, the door was still open. And so she basically tells him, listen, I'm always prepared to leave. Like, I pack up and I leave my stuff in bags. Like, I don't never even carry a suitcase because I'm always ready to roll. Which then it made sense to me why she hasn't set up any permanent roots. Because even though she bought this business and she's doing what she's doing with the paint, at any point in time, she's ready to leave town. And once again, we see her picking up that bottle. Because remember, last year, she was a drinker. So once again, we see her picking up that bottle. And, of course, they end up kissing, child. They end up kissing. So that was the episode. I don't know how I feel about the direction some of these storylines is going in, but I'm going to keep watching. I'll let y'all know. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.